Okay, so welcome to BIN 310 in 2025 version, autumn 2025. And now my name is Lars Sniepen, and I am going to tell you a little bit about some practical information here now first. So, first of all, the people that you are meeting, the first one here is me, and I'm the course responsible for this BIN 310, has been for many years now. And as usual, I have an assistant teacher with me, and this year it's Cassandra. So you will meet the two of us on the weekly sessions, you could say. We will come back to that now. But this is more or less how we look like. And the weekly calendar is perhaps a little bit important to look at. My philosophy, my pedagogical philosophy, you could say, around this course is to use what we call flipped classroom. And what does this mean? It means that in Canvas, I launch a new module every week. And in this module, it consists of a HTML file. I just link to a file where you have a lot of text, code examples, and links to either lectures, videos that I have recorded, or some other people have recorded on the net, or it could be articles or websites, etc. Lots of links, or some links at least, in this document, but it's mostly text and code. Examples that you can look at and you can copy and try on your own and modify and so on. And there are also some exercises there. And you should look at those exercises because they are sort of the fundament of learning, I would say here. The point is you work on this on your own. So I will try to put this out typically on Monday every week. And then you work on this on your own. You can form groups or work together if you like. It's usually a good idea, but this is up to you. I mean, people are different, so I will not enforce anything on you. You should be grown-ups now, right? You can do this on your own. And then the idea is that if you have some problems or you have some questions, we meet and discuss this on the weekly hours, right, where we meet. So you have to look at the modules first, and then we start talking about it. That's the flipped classroom idea, right? Instead of me lecturing on a completely new topic, and then you afterwards work on exercises, we do it in the reverse order. You first work on exercises, and then you come and ask questions if you have some. And where do we meet and when do we meet? We meet on Thursdays, we have 2 morning hours there, and on Fridays, 4 hours there. So it means that if I put this out on a Monday, you have some 3 days there, right? To look at this. And if you have some problems or want to talk to us for some reason about this, this is where we meet. So this is now reserved for questions, discussions, and problem solving. All the lectures, in the sense there are lectures, there aren't many, but there are some lectures, they are videos in these documents, right? So I will not do any lecturing on these days unless you ask for something, right? So we may do some sort of ad hoc lectures, you could say, because if people are interested in digging into something, we can always do that on these hours, on Thursdays and Fridays. But it means that if you don't show up on these days for some reason, either because you don't have any problems or questions, but could also be you are not at campus, then you shouldn't go missing very much, because this is the fundament. This is the fundament, right? The weekly module document. That's where you should find basically all you need. Where do we meet? We meet in this room here, which is called the Rossing Auditorium. It's in the 3rd floor of the biotech building. It's a nice room in the sense that you can arrange yourself in the tables are and the chairs are free to move there, so you can arrange your into groups if you like. It's not an auditorium where you have to sit in rows, right? So that's nice. I should mention that the room doesn't have a lot of power supply outlets, so it could be a good idea to think about that. If you have to bring a computer, right, and you need some power, there may be some need for some extension cables or something like that. But it hasn't been a problem before. It's usually manageable, this, but I just mentioned it. So this is where we meet. So study the module documents and come here on these hours to talk. This time we haven't prepared any online service, you could say. We have done this earlier by Zoom or Teams or something like that. We may do it if there are enough people who wants it. But previous experience has been that there are only very few people showing up, and we don't spend the resources on that unless it is popular, you could say. So only face-to-face meetings, at least that's the default now. The exam, well, there is no exam because there is no grading here, right? You only pass or fail. And in order to pass, there are 4 compulsory assignments. So you have to pass them all. There is no exception in order to pass the course. So that's how it works in this course. These assignments will be launched parallel to the modules, more or less. So you can say that after the first module is a little bit special, it's just getting started, but after the first module, there will be sort of 3 and 3 modules belonging together in some sense in an assignment. So module 2, 3, and 4 will be on the same topic, and there's the first assignment relates to these modules, right? Then 5, 6, 7 with the second assignment, and so on. And the last assignment, there are only 2 modules because there are only 12 modules, but I think we need that extra time at the end. We will see. So the assignments, you make some reports in R Markdown, you hand them in on Canvas, and I think that the description of the course says that there will be some oral presentation, but there are too many of you. This course is too popular for having that. We don't have the time, so we skip it. The deadlines are then typically 3 weeks after the modules have been launched, right? Because there are sort of 3 weeks for each assignment, right? 4 assignments over 3 weeks, that's 12 weeks. Everyone has to hand in their personal report. You cannot work together in group, or I should say, you can work together in groups, but you have to hand in your own personal report. Everyone will get their own data sets. No 2 people will have identical data sets to work on, so your results will differ. And also, it makes it easier for everyone, I think, if everyone but you can, of course, talk together, right? Because what you will do is more or less the same thing, all of you, right, to this data, but your results will, of course, differ. So you cannot sort of conclude in the same way as the other person. So, how do you sort of complete this? Well, the modules are the best guides, I would say, to the assignments. That's reasonable, right? So in order to solve these assignments, work on the modules and the module exercises and look at the examples there. You can borrow code and modify it from these modules. Everything is in the modules. You may work in groups, as I said, and it's usually a good idea but this again depends on people. I will not enforce any group working here unless you find it fruitful. You may ask questions related to these assignments in our weekly meetings. So it's not, I mean, the assignments, they are sort of both an exam in some sense, but you should also learn something from it. So don't be afraid to ask questions about the assignments. It's not like we will solve it for you, but we can always guide you, right? Or perhaps give you some hints, right? And there may be some hints appearing in Canvas. Usually it will be as we go along, right? So pay attention to that. In Canvas, I will put out some announcements there from time to time. Yeah, how does the semester look like if we look at week by week? Basically like this, and this may change a little bit. We never know what happens, right? People can get ill, including me and everyone else. But this is how I think we should do it right now. So you can see the first module is a little bit special, and then we start module 2, 3, and 4 with the first assignment out. And then once these are done, the assignment 1 deadline appears here. So it's basically 3 weeks, right? And then immediately the next assignment is out, module 5, 6, 7, and then similar here, deadline, and the next assignment out, 8, 9, 10. And the last one is a little bit special, or it's only 2 modules here, because we need this buffer here, and this is the end of the semester actually. The dates here are for the Monday in each week, the Monday, right? So this is the last week before the exam period starts. So you have to have your 4th assignment handed in here, and before we finish the course, you could say, and get it approved. So in case there are some things missing on the assignments, you will have them back and with a chance to correct things and make it sort of approvable. So you have to. So it is actually a good idea to try to hand in this a little bit before the deadline, then, right? But I think we have plenty of time here. We have this extra week here, and we shouldn't be too stressed about it. But try to stick to this. At least I will try to do it by handing out the assignments in the proper time. Yeah. High performance computing. Yeah, that's quite important phrase for this course, because in this course you will get access to our local computing cluster, and this is something you may not be familiar with. It's called Orion, and we will come back to this actually, but I mention it a little bit now because we will do some heavy computations here on Orion, because when we come, not the first weeks, but from week 5 and on, we will work with big data sets, or at least they could potentially be big. We will not use very big data sets in this course for obvious reasons, because then we will never be finished. But we will work on data sets who could easily be big. They often are in research and science. For that reason, we have to use computing facilities like Orion or similar. And then you should learn how to do this, right? So that's a big thing in this course, actually, learning how to use this computing cluster. I think that may even be the most important learning goal for this course, learning how to work on a high performance computing cluster. Yeah, so we will use Orion not because we have to, but because we want to, right? We want you to learn this, even if our data sets in our assignments and examples may not be that big, but they could have been big, right? So this is a Unix operating system, and it's a standard in all computing sciences, and you should learn a little bit Unix as well. That's part of being familiar with how to work on such a high performance cluster. So that's important. You need a VPN connection. So you should immediately make sure you have a VPN connection so that you to NMBU. And without it, you cannot log on to Orion. So you have to have that at least from week 5 on. And that's a point here. We will not use Orion immediately. I will come back to that. You also need some terminal app on your computer in order to log in to Orion. Mac users already have this. There is an app in all Macs called Terminal, which is exactly what we are talking about here. You may not have used it before, but you have it if you have a Mac. In Windows you don't have, so there you have to install some extra software, and these are 2 very popular ones. And you can read more about this in the Module 1 document. You can these are super small, easy to install softwares, so everyone should manage this. You can get them for free from the NMBU Software Center. I think they are always for free. Yeah, so access to Orion. Everyone gets a user account on Orion, and the usernames are the same as your ordinary NMBU usernames this year. It's different from previous years, but this is how the IT department wants it this year. Then you will get what we call a dummy password. You get a dummy password belonging to your username. You log in with this on Orion, and you immediately change it to a proper password. And this is what we will actually do this first week. Make sure everyone has logged in and changed their Orion password, so we are ready to start using Orion when we come to that. You should get this dummy password from the IT department by an email and you get it on your NMBU email. And this is new for this year, so I'm not sure how this will work. So in case you don't get such an email with a dummy password, email me. Because also this, I have to send a list to the IT department of which students are registered for this course. And this list I have to take from a website called Fagpersonweb. And there may be some delays or something that means that even if you register for the course, your name will not appear on this Fagpersonweb. I have seen this before. So there are all kinds of possibilities that this can go wrong, but for most people this will work, I'm sure. But luckily we don't use Orion heavily from the first day, so we have some time to fix this in case we run into problems. See the Module 1 document for all the details around this. And as I said earlier, we don't really start using Orion until in week 5. So we have some time to fix this in case it doesn't work as it should from day 1. So the first 3 weeks you will work on your local computer. Use RStudio there for the first assignment. Because the first assignment is about metabarcoding data, and the data sets we get from metabarcoding is usually not so big. We can do it on a local computer. I think that was most people do anyway. We could have done it on Orion. We did that last time 2 years ago. So there's no reason we could not do it on Orion. But this year we will do it differently then. Yeah, there are some prerequisites for this course. You can read about it. It's Introduction to Bioinformatics. there are some sort of words and phrases we will assume you have the knowledge with, even if we repeat things here, right? So, but I will not explain everything in detail, you could say, with respect to this sort of basic things. Also statistics, like introductory course in statistics, there will be some stochastic variables and parameters and so on as we go along, basic probability and hypothesis testing and so on. An introduction to programming, for instance STIN 100 or something similar. We will assume that you know R, and if you don't, you will have to work a lot extra, I believe, because we will use sort of R and R coding for the coding we are doing here. Well, we will also do a little bit shell coding, but that's only we assume no knowledge of that, so that's very basic. But R coding we will use R as a tool all the time. So coding will be in R and shell in this course. Well, at least that's how you may of course do whatever you like in addition to that, but that's what we will support, you could say. And RStudio then. Well, we typically use R for data processing. Before or after we did the heavy computations, we will use some software tools for doing the heavy computations, not in R, because R is not really made for doing these heavy computations. So the computations we do in R are typically small, and the plotting, that's what R is really good at, right? Handling tables, arranging them, fixing things like that, and then showing the data. That's really nice. I think that's what R is mostly used for actually in bioinformatics. Data visualization. So we will use RStudio on Orion from week 5. But first 3 weeks you use RStudio on your local computer. And it's not a big difference. Whether you run RStudio on your local computer or on Orion, as we will see later, it works more or less the same. There are very small differences. And we use it to edit and inspect all kinds of text files, of course. We can make R scripts and shell scripts also in RStudio, and make R Markdown documents for the assignments. Well, actually, yeah, I think that when it comes to the second and third and fourth assignment, it's probably best to do to do this on Orion, even if it's possible to do it also on your local computer even then. But it has to do with, then you have to sort of download a lot of results and in order to make the plots and so on. So I think it's easier. In the first assignment, you will do it locally on your own computer. But for the remaining assignment, I think you do it on Orion. But it works the same. RStudio is RStudio. We will not have time to actually teach R coding, but that shouldn't be a big problem, because there are endless resources for learning, and of course you have the AI these days. Use the AI as a teacher. It's an excellent teacher if you want to learn some new coding and understand it. I think AI is the best solution these days for learning how to do coding. I should say that, at least in my experience, the more you know from before, the better the AI is as a teacher. So if you start at complete zero, then it may be a little bit tricky. But if you have some experience before, it's super efficient as a teacher. But you should also allow it to be a teacher, not use AI just to solve your problems and not learn nothing from it. That's a very stupid way of using AI. Ask AI questions. That's a way to do it.